My name is Edward. I am 63 years old. And I have buried a wife, survived 2 heart surgeries, and worked 42 years at the same steel plant without ever once walking away from my responsibilities. But nothing prepared me for the moment a young usher in a blue blazer blocked my path and said, politely but firmly, "I'm sorry, sir, family seating is full." I smiled at first, thinking it was a mistake. "I am family," I said. "I'm her grandfather." He glanced at his clipboard, then back at me with that tight, rehearsed smile people use when they don't want to cause a scene. "I understand, sir, but the reserved section is at capacity. You'll have to sit in general seating." That was the moment I noticed something strange. In the front row, right where I was supposed to be, sat a man I had never seen before. And he was wearing a suit that cost more than my car. The auditorium smelled of polished wood and fresh flowers. Gold banners hung from the ceiling with the school crest printed proudly in the center. Parents filled the seats, murmuring with excitement. Cameras flashed. Programs rustled. My granddaughter, Lily, was receiving the National Young Innovator Award. At 14 years old, she had built a water filtration prototype for rural communities. It had made local news. Sponsors were involved. The mayor was attending. I had been counting down to this day for weeks. I ironed my best gray suit that morning, the same one I wore to Lily's elementary graduation. I polished my shoes until I could see my reflection in them. I even brought the old leather-bound camera my late wife Margaret used to carry. Family seating is full. The words echoed in my head. I stepped aside, pretending not to be embarrassed, and walked toward the back. But before I sat down, I took one more glance at the front row. That unfamiliar man leaned toward my son Daniel, Lily's father, and laughed at something he said. Daniel nodded respectfully, too respectfully. My stomach tightened. I had a feeling I knew what was happening. And I didn't like it. Daniel and I hadn't always been distant. When he was a boy, he followed me everywhere, to the garage, to the fishing dock, to the steel plant's open house days. He used to say he wanted to be just like Dad. But somewhere along the years, things changed. After Margaret died 6 years ago, I didn't handle it well. I became quiet, withdrawn. I missed birthdays, forgot to return calls. I convinced myself they were busy with their own lives. Daniel built a business in renewable energy. He started moving in circles with investors and politicians. Fundraisers replaced family dinners. Success replaced simplicity. And I suppose, I didn't fit into that picture anymore. Still, Lily and I stayed close. She would come over every Sunday afternoon. We'd sit on the porch. She'd tell me about school projects, her dreams of becoming an engineer. I helped her solder her first circuit board on my kitchen table. "You're the only one who listens to my crazy ideas, Grandpa," she once told me. So when the invitation arrived for the award ceremony, with "reserved grandfather" handwritten on it, I felt something warm return to my chest. Now I understood. Reserved doesn't always mean guaranteed. I sat in the general section, 12 rows back. From there, the stage looked smaller. When the principal began speaking, I barely heard the words. My eyes kept drifting to that stranger in the front row. He placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder like he belonged there. And when Lily walked onto the stage, radiant in her navy dress, holding back nervous tears, she looked toward the front row. Not toward me. Toward them. My throat tightened. Family seating is full. Full of what? Money, status, opportunity. Was that man an investor, a sponsor, someone important enough to replace a grandfather? When Lily's name was called for the final award, the crowd stood in applause. I stood too, clapping harder than anyone around me. She deserved the world. But when she lifted her trophy, her eyes searched the front row again. And for a split second, I saw confusion cross her face. After the ceremony ended, families rushed forward with bouquets and balloons. I moved slowly down the aisle. Before I could reach her, Daniel intercepted me. "Dad," he said quickly, glancing over his shoulder, "you made it." "Made it? As opposed to what?" I asked. He sighed. "I was going to call you." "That would have been thoughtful." His jaw tightened. "Look, the front row was reserved for key sponsors. Mr. Hargrove donated a large sum to Lily's project. He's interested in funding her research long-term. So he's family now." "It's not like that." "It looks exactly like that." Daniel lowered his voice. "Dad, this is bigger than feelings. This is Lily's future." "And what do you think I've been trying to build with her all these years?" I asked. Before he could answer, Lily's voice rang out. "Grandpa!" She ran toward me, nearly dropping her trophy. She threw her arms around my waist, and I felt her shoulders shake. "I looked for you," she whispered. "I was here," I said gently, "just a little farther back." She pulled away, frowning. "Why weren't you in the front?" Daniel stepped in. "Lily, sweetheart." "Why?" she repeated louder now. Heads began to turn. Mr. Hargrove approached, extending a hand to me. "You must be Edward. I've heard about you. Lily speaks highly of your technical guidance." Technical guidance? Like I was some retired consultant. I shook his hand politely. "Yes, sir," Lily said firmly. "He's the reason I built the prototype in the first place." The room went quiet. Daniel's expression shifted. Mr. Hargrove chuckled awkwardly. "Well, it takes a village." "No," Lily said, "it took my grandfather." Later that evening, Lily insisted we all go to dinner. The restaurant was elegant, white tablecloths, dim lighting, expensive wine lists. Daniel chose it, no doubt to impress Mr. Hargrove. I almost declined, but Lily held my hand the entire way. Halfway through the meal, Mr. Hargrove raised a glass. "To Lily," he said, "and to bright futures. With the right support, there's no limit to what you can achieve." He looked directly at Daniel, then at me. And I understood. This wasn't just about a seat in the front row. It was about positioning, influence, ownership. Daniel cleared his throat. "Mr. Hargrove has offered to sponsor Lily's enrollment in a private science academy in Boston. It's an incredible opportunity." Boston, 2 states away. My heart skipped. "That's wonderful," I said slowly. "What do you think, Lily?" She hesitated. "I don't know," she admitted. "I want to learn more, but I don't want to leave Grandpa." Daniel sighed in frustration. "Dad will visit." I smiled gently. "Your dreams come first." But inside something broke. Because I knew what distance does to families. I had lived it. 2 weeks passed. Boston accepted Lily. Daniel moved quickly, too quickly. Housing arrangements, tuition contracts, media announcements. And then one afternoon, Lily showed up at my house with red eyes. "They want me to sign a partnership agreement," she said. "What kind of agreement?" She handed me a stack of papers. I adjusted my glasses. Buried in legal language was a clause granting partial patent control of her prototype to Mr. Hargrove's foundation. "They say it's standard," she whispered. "It's not," I said quietly. She looked at me with fear. "Grandpa, am I being selfish for not wanting this?" "No," I said firmly. "You're being careful." That night I didn't sleep. I might not understand venture capital, but I understood people. And I recognized when someone wanted more than they claimed. The next morning, I put on my gray suit again. I went to Daniel's office. Mr. Hargrove was there. "I read the contract," I said calmly. Daniel rolled his eyes. "Dad, this is professional territory." I worked 42 years negotiating union contracts, I replied. Don't mistake my retirement for ignorance. I placed the document on the table. You're asking a 14-year-old girl to sign away control of her own invention. Mr. Hargrove leaned back. It's a partnership. It's leverage. Silence filled the room. Daniel's voice softened. Dad, you don't understand how competitive this field is. I understand perfectly, I said. You're afraid she'll miss her chance. Daniel didn't deny it. I stepped closer. You think giving her the front row of life means pushing everyone else out. He looked down. But the strongest foundations, I continued, are built on trust, not transactions. That evening, Daniel came to my house alone. He looked exhausted. I didn't mean to hurt you at the ceremony, he said quietly. I know. I wanted to give her everything I didn't have. You had love, I reminded him. He swallowed. I thought success meant replacing what was missing. And what was missing? He didn't answer. Instead, he asked, what would you do? I thought about Margaret, about the years I worked overtime and missed moments I could never get back. I would let her choose, I said. 3 days later, Lily declined the Boston Academy. She chose to stay local. Mr. Hargrove withdrew his funding. Daniel panicked at first, but something unexpected happened. The story went public, how a young girl refused to sign away control of her invention. It spread. Investors reached out. Ethical ones. Universities offered mentorship without ownership clauses. And at the next ceremony, 6 months later, the front row had 3 reserved seats. Daniel, Lily, and me. When we arrived, the usher smiled warmly. Family seating is right this way, Mr. Edward. This time, I didn't look for strangers in expensive suits. I looked at my granddaughter, and she looked back at me. Right where I belonged,